Welcome back to this podcast, Everything Goes with T&K. Harper hits his first home run with the Phillies. Duke currently has just lost to Michigan State by 1 point. Shocked the nation right there. And is it way too early to say the Brewers might be the World Series favorites? Stay tuned to find out.
It's Elliott! It's picked off! It's picked off! It's Tracy Burton!
All right, I guess the biggest one to start with right now is Duke losing to Michigan State by 1 point.
No, it's the last day of March, and the madness continues. I never thought in a million years that the Final Four would be the four teams that are there, really.
What's crazy is that JT Barrett had a chance to tie the game. He had 2 free throws and missed the one. But I'm intrigued now to see if Zion goes in the draft. I mean, they had a heck of a run. Duke was definitely the favorites. If you listened to the last podcast that we had a little family thing where we got to pick teams, and I got the number one pick.
And you were in great shape up to this morning.
Because I had Texas Tech, I had Kentucky, and I had Duke, and Duke was riding me. But now I'm relying on I'm excited. You know, there's like 2 teams in this Final Four. Texas Tech, I think this is the second time that they've been here. But what was it, Auburn? This is the first time ever?
And Auburn they've had the toughest road to get to the Final Four. I mean, they played New Mexico State right out the box. They won that by 1. They beat Kansas. They beat North Carolina. And they beat Kentucky. I mean, that there is a challenge alone to get to where they're at. Yeah. And you were sitting pretty. You had Duke, Kentucky, Texas Tech, and Purdue. The only round you lost was round 1. You lost your first team. And man,
do you know I have anybody left?
The tide has changed. You got Texas Tech. Noah has Michigan State left, and I have Virginia left. And as of last night, I thought Virginia was done.
Wait, how many teams? Is it the Final Four now, right?
It's the Final Four. We have Michigan State versus Texas Tech. Virginia against Auburn.
I mean, Zion had a great game, 10 for 19, 24 points. And Barrett was 7 for 17, not too bad, but he had 21 points. I think those two easily top 2 draft picks right there.
Oh, yeah. I just think by looking at it, I think it's Texas Tech against Auburn.
Yeah, I do. I see that. Definitely.
I mean, this whole month of March has been crazy from the tip-off. And
a lot of good teams got eliminated pretty early, too.
And I watched the Michigan game the other night, and I was just dumbfounded by how bad they played against Texas Tech as a number 2 seed.
Well, wasn't it only not even after the first half, and it was only 9-9 or something?
The game was boring. I mean, there was 9 minutes to go in the first half, and the score was 8-6. And Michigan didn't hit a jump shot, I think, the whole first half.
I mean, I guess you could say that's a great defensive game, but on the same side,
it was a bad shooting game too.
Yeah.
It was boring. I mean, it looked like you were watching little kids play. There was nothing going into just a sloppy play all around. But I tell you, Virginia, they had a great game the other night. I watched that, and it went to overtime. Last night's game was a nail-biter.
I just think that, this Duke and Michigan game, I know some Duke fans, and, I know Michigan State's ranked number 2, but, you could say that this is an upset. Because Duke was just talked about so much that they were supposed to win it all. You had Zion, you had Barrett. You had Zion who's just this elite guy, and he's going to lead you to the promised land, and you lose by 1. You know what's crazy, too, is they're last 2 games, they've only won by 1 point, and now they lose by 1 point.
They had tough games. North Dakota State was their easiest game. They won that one, smooth sailing. But then they played Central Florida. They won that one by 1. Then they played Virginia Tech. They won that one by 2. Michigan State, I tell you, I never thought in a million years they would make it that as far as that. When I watched Michigan play them in the Big Ten, nothing really impressed me about them.
I mean, you got to give it to them, though. They beat LSU 80-63. They put up 20 points over them.
Yeah, but LSU was overranked. I don't think LSU – I didn't see anything impressive about them.
I mean, they beat Minnesota the game before that by 20 points too, 50-70.
Yeah, another one. They played Minnesota in the regular division game, so they know about them. They've seen them. I mean, they probably had the easiest cakewalk.
That Virginia and Purdue game, though, like Purdue had a lot of people that were on fire in this tournament, shooting threes. I was rooting. I think
good.
I think I picked Purdue as one of my picks, and I was kind of rooting for them.
You did.
And you had Virginia, didn't you?
I had Virginia. Purdue knocked out my Tennessee too.
That was a good game. That was a really good game.
Insane. The amount of 3-pointers that were going up and going in, and to see guys do fadeaway 3-pointers. That Ryan Klein is amazing. Just a fadeaway 3-pointer and nailing it like nothing. And that game unfortunately ended on a bad call. Tennessee should have won that game. They called a ghost foul with like 2 seconds left on a 3-pointer, which I don't know.
I'm sad to see Michigan lose. I really wanted Michigan to go all the way. But what I like about March Madness in general, if you look at the whole concept, is throughout the college season, you have a lot of superstars. But it's like when you get to March Madness, you really can see like who's going to get drafted. It's almost like when you watch baseball and you have great players all year, but it's like the postseason, you really can see certain people shine, and they get their names, like Lorenzo Cain, like when he shined with the Royals in their playoff push, like he became Lorenzo Cain. Like nobody knew him before that. And that's why I like March Madness, because you can see like Klein, like Barrett. You can see who's going to get drafted.
They need to do this for college football.
Yes, exactly.
They need to open it up and have the excitement of this. I mean, anyone can lose on any given day. It draws you in. I mean, I've watched games that I don't even know any of the players on the teams, but you hear the crowd getting into it.
And
pulls you in. It just draws you right in.
I just hate the fact that for college football, it's like, 4 teams? Out of all the teams that are ranked, and you only pick 4. Like, they should have a bracket like this, or even just open it up to like 10 teams. We've had the discussion before. It's something we can go into another time, but.
Well, the lower divisions, they do it. They have 16-team playoffs, and they make it work. And it's just a matter of, these guys they're going to make money in these bowl games. So I don't know what the holdup is in this, but even if they expanded it to 8, it would be a lot better than the 4.
It draws,
especially when you see like Clemson and Alabama there all the time.
And that'd be cool if they opened it up, because with March Madness, I love when you see people get upset. Like an upset happen. I love watching that. It makes you want to keep watching this game.
We have a 2 and a 3 left. Auburn is the only one that's a 5 that isn't. I don't want to say that they weren't ranked right, but you look at Michigan. I don't think Michigan should have been a 2. And I'm a fan of Michigan, but they live and die by the 3. And they shot 7 of 21 the other night, and they shot horrible against Texas Tech. I don't know how they work out the seedings for these, but Auburn is clearly a better team than Michigan.
I thought Michigan State was ranked number 2. Is that what you're talking about?
Michigan State's ranked 2 in their bracket, but Michigan was also ranked a 2 in their bracket.
Oh, yeah, I see that now. Yeah.
And I don't know how they get that. I know they had 30 wins or so, but I don't know. I don't think they were deserving of that 2 seed.
But I like though when teams are ranked high that you feel like they shouldn't be ranked high, because what you see is people get hot before March Madness, like low ranked teams, and you've seen that in this tournament where people come out like on fire and they shut out. And you said this earlier. It's almost like it's not an upset because they were playing so well before the tournament, and I love that.
You know what would be interesting? If they just took all 64 teams, they put names in a tumbler, and they just pulled out names. And that's who you played. Like, imagine if you got like a Duke versus like Auburn the
like
first
right
game.
Off the bat.
It might give a team like, I don't know, Bradley or Yale or Liberty or St. Louis or some of those teams. UC Irvine. Imagine if they got into a bracket where they could run the table.
That'd be cool.
A small school like that. I don't think they should. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it is everything goes, so we're just throwing stuff out there. But
that was like
that would be really neat for that.
Who did Lehigh play that one year? Was it Duke or Villanova? And they beat them. And that was really cool because you don't see a lot of teams come in this area and play schools like that. And you see what happens. They got their opportunity, they beat them, and that was awesome.
I think you just take all 64 teams, throw them in like a bingo tumbler where they roll the balls around in, and you pull out a number.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like it could still be just the ranked teams that make it,
Yeah.
But instead of having them ranked,
whatever,
just shuffle it.
Whatever the field is, yeah.
That'd be interesting. That'd be
That
something
would
really
be
cool.
awesome if they did that. Could you imagine somebody, like a Montana or somebody, just run the table and get to the Final Four? It would be good for their school.
It really would. It'd be cool to see some low teams succeed like that. Some teams just look for that opportunity, and when they get that opportunity, they shine, and it's awesome to see that.
Well, as of right now, you're winning the bracket. You have 26 points. Noah has 24, and I have 24. So you play Noah next. So we'll see what happens.
Wait, who does he have? Who does Texas Tech play?
He has Michigan State. I have Virginia. They play Auburn.
Ooh, that's going to be a close one.
Yeah, so you're going to have to lose, and I'm going to have to win and go to the championship and win in order to win it all. And Noah will have to do the same thing. He'll have to beat you and win the championship to win it all. So it's close.
I have faith in Texas Tech. I do. I think it's amazing that they are in the Final Four, and I'm rooting for them now because Duke got eliminated. I was rooting for Michigan, but they got eliminated, so now I got to root for Texas Tech. We have family down there.
Saturday night I lost Houston and I lost Gonzaga, and Virginia was on the ropes, ready to be knocked out, and I thought that was it. I'm done. And the miracle happened. The miracle of March Madness.
All right, so moving on from NCAA March Madness, we're going to dive into some MLB baseball because we had opening day this past week, which is an amazing, amazing time of the year. Everybody loves opening day, America's pastime. It gets me excited. The Phillies, I don't know, man.
They're the only team left undefeated.
They're playing the Braves tonight, and I thought both those games would be intense games.
Well, that game just started. It's in the second inning, and we'll see what happens, but I tell you, I am thrown for a loop of what's going on so far, and I know it's early.
Yeah, it's early. It's early. You can't really judge a team until like a month into the season. But one thing I said right off the bat is, some people are like, we know they have Harper, but they're not going to win. But if you watched one of these two games, the atmosphere has totally changed in Philly. 2 back-to-back sold-out games. Harper finally hits his first home run.
Yeah, but what's funny? They booed Harper on his second at bat. They had fans actually booing him, and even their longtime commentators said if these fans would just put their phones down and pay attention to what's going on, they wouldn't be booing so fast.
Yeah. What I think is amazing is his first game there, he came out of the dugout to go out to right field, and they had like a standing ovation for him, and then you get late in the game, and they walk him. Because it's Bryce Harper. But wait, what's so intense about this lineup now? And I said this offseason. They have Hoskins, they have Franco. Franco hit a 3-run home run, but they walk Harper, and that means you bring Hoskins up. And what does he do? He hits a grand slam, and that stadium went crazy. Like, I'm telling you,
coach, as someone who coached a game of baseball, who was not paying attention to what Harper did opening day?
Yeah, he was struggling.
0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and you walk him. I would have came at him with everything I had, but you walk him.
Dude, I'm calling. Like, I understand we're only 2 games in, but this atmosphere right now, they're gonna get to the playoffs this year. I 100% believe that because they have a lineup where if one guy's struggling, another guy's gonna pick him up. Andrew McCutchen right off the bat, he's not batting too well right now. He's batting like 125. He led that game off with a home run, but Segura, JT, Harper, Hoskins, most of the team already has a home run.
Yeah, but the only thing you got to watch is, and it's early, you got to pay attention to runs against. And I know right now they've given up 10 runs against. They're averaging 5 now, but that's the biggest thing because you don't want your bullpen to blow games for you, and that's the problem they had last year. You get your starters going great, and another thing is now they have the offensive power to bail out their starting pitchers, but you don't want to get in a shootout, and you don't want to put the ball in your bullpen's hands unless you know for sure that they're going to be solid enough to get out.
Yeah, but one thing you got to put into perspective too also is, it's in Philadelphia. It's not really warm right now. It's kind of cold. Pitchers are going to struggle. A lot of pitchers aren't even hot right now yet, and just give it time.
I got to tell you who I'm disappointed in, and I know it's early, and we're going to keep saying this, but the Yankees, they had the best spring training record in the Grapefruit League. And the way they played yesterday was absolutely horrible. the amount of mistakes they made, the 3 errors, and it looked like they just came off the damn plane and it was their first spring training game. And they're not hitting. They're not like today, they're losing to Baltimore again today, and they had bases loaded 3 times and they didn't get in any runs.
The second time Judge got a double and made it 4-3. But like you said to me before we started this podcast, there's so many times that the Yankees get really close to coming back to a game, and then their defense kind of blows it. They do stupid stuff. But yeah,
you have a guy come up like Stanton, who you're paying him big money, and we both watched him. He swung at 2 changeups, and he was so early on it. And then the third pitch was in the dirt, and he swung at it. And the pitch is strike 3, out.
And the thing I said about Stan is Stan either hits a home run or he's going to strike out. And you can see his approach to the plate. It's like his mind's going 100 miles an hour. He whiffed. Like, when I tell you he whiffed, like, he fell out of the box the second time. 2 changeups that were 83 miles an hour. And I told you, I called this. I said, watch, he's going to strike out now because his mind's going 100 miles an hour. And he swung and missed at a ball that was way outside the other batter's box.
I mean, who would ever think that Baltimore and Tampa Bay would be tied for first place, and the Yankees and Boston would be tied for last?
Listen, anything can happen, but it's way too early to kind of like look at a team and say, wow, they're going to stay at first place for a while. I mean, you got to look at least a month into a season to really get a feel for a team. I mean, the Yankees looked amazing their first game. Luke Voit, first inning, 3-run home run. He looked right off the bat. He looked hot. The whole almost the whole lineup, I believe, got a hit, but Brett Gardner.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. Gardy is struggling big time. I think he's only been on base twice, and they were both walks.
I mean, he's putting the ball in play, though. That's a good sign to look at. At least he's not up there striking out left and right.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. It's the top of the 9th, and Baltimore has bases loaded again. So it's 7-4. Yankees are losing. It's just frustrating. It really is, because Happ did not look good today either. And I know it was cold today, but, man, I just hope they turn it around because it does not look good early. The bullpen is absolutely looking like trash right now.
There's a few teams that are just, they catch your attention because they lost a lot of people. Like Seattle. Seattle gave up a lot of people this year, and no one. We talked about how
they're 4-1.
They're 4-1. They played the Japan series, and
well, we both said they were going to be tough. We both said they were going to be tough in that division, but like Chicago, the Cubs, man, them in Texas, they're in a shootout. It's 10-10 in the bottom of the 9th.
Yeah, but like Seattle, like you have Tim Beckham, who out of nowhere, who had to play with the Orioles last year, comes to Seattle, has 4 or 3 home runs already, and excuse me, it's just you're seeing players come to these teams, and we predict that they're going to do bad, but they're proving us wrong right now. I mean, Milwaukee is on fire right now, on fire. Christian Yelich coming off an MVP year. He already has 4 home runs and hit a walk-off double today to beat St. Louis. He's a monster right now. And it's crazy because when you look at Christian Yelich, he's a small guy. Not height-wise, but, he's a stick.
Well, I'll tell you who's really started out hot. I mean, Elvis Andrus. That guy is
I saw that.
He's batting .625, and I know it's early, but him, Cabrera, Odor, and that Connor Falea, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Connor Falea, they're all batting over 300. They're really, really hitting the ball well. And they thought for sure that this was a total rebuild, that Texas was not going to be good this year. But in their games, they're scoring a lot of runs.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's shocking. It's shocking to see this. I remember I was looking at the stats yesterday of the top 30 batting average, and Philly has 4 guys on there already. Because you have Segura, who's batting .333. Franco's batting .500 with 2 home runs already. Hoskins is batting .300. I mean, Harper's batting .167, but let's be real, it's probably not going to stay that low after a couple games. I think he's going to start to get hot.
I'm looking at the stats now for the Yankees. Gardner he's only been on base 1 time. And as a leadoff, that's bad. That's bad. You got to make a change. You got to do something. You got to get a spark going in this team.
I think they should either put DJ LeMahieu at the first, or I think Torres would be a great leadoff option. He's young, he's hitting the ball well, and he's got some speed.
Gardner had a great spring too, but until he starts touching the ball and getting on base, you got to pull him out of that. I mean, he had a nice at bat today where he had 11 or 12 pitch at bat, but he's got as a leadoff man, you gotta get on base. I mean, his on base percentage is is horrible.
And like we said, it's early. It's early. Guys are gonna be cold right now. It's cold outside. It's not easy to play in this weather. So you can only hope the best and hope that they get hot and turn it around. I like Garner. I really do. I hope he does well. But like you said, at the end of the day, you got to be a coach and not a fan. And if he starts to stay cold, you gotta do something.
The problem is they don't have anyone to bring in to replace him right now.
I mean, they have that guy they traded for, but I know nothing about him.
But I don't know, man.
And who knows when Ellsbury's going to be back. But Washington won another game today, which is keeping them alive. How about the Mets? Freaking the Mets for opening day, lights out pitch and duel by both pitchers. The only real run was Robinson Cano's first at bat with the Mets. He hits a home run off Max Scherzer, and that's the only run he let up that day. And it must suck as a pitcher. You pitch lights out, but you give that run because it was a home run.
Yeah, the Mets did the same thing last year. They started out hot. They were in first place for a while, and then they just started sinking. I tell you what, if Philly pulls away, this division could be theirs before May. Just the way they're playing. I mean, if they keep scoring runs and they keep doing what they're doing.
I think you still got to watch Atlanta, though. I know Atlanta lost 2 already to Philly, but it's so early.
It is early, but you can find yourself in a hole very fast.
Oh, absolutely.
There's managers that are just trying to tinker with things right now, but you still have to pay attention because the Braves. I mean, it's only 2 games, but before you know it, it turns into 4, then it turns into 6. You look at what they're doing as far as run differential. Right now, they're -8, so those are things you got to pay attention to. And just like I said about the Yankees, I mean, sure, it's early, but you got to get some kind of a spark somewhere. And to lose 2 out of 3 to a team that they're projecting to finish with 100 losses, it's not good to start the season. It's really not.
Is it crazy that the Padres are 3-1 because we sat here and said that they might possibly be good, but yet they're 3-1?
Yeah, it's early. Yeah, I mean, I am. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm surprised. I really am. I'm surprised. I didn't think that they would have the best ERA in baseball right now. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what a month brings, and I didn't think in a million years Seattle would jump out like that, and they have.
Yeah.
But you look at some of these divisions. I mean,
Boston's currently a game and a half out of first place, and Dustin Pedroia is set to begin rehab in the Class A. He's played 8 innings the other day and is set to play 9 the next game, and they want to play him back-to-back games to see if he can stay healthy and not have soreness in that left knee. He had surgery in 2017, only played 3 games last year. I'm kind of rooting for the guy. I'm not a Boston fan, but...
You know what's crazy about Boston now? They scored 24 runs in 4 games, but they allowed 34. With that pitching staff, I mean...
It's actually a crazy stat.
It is. It is a crazy stat.
That's why Boston's trash. Just kidding.
No. I don't... won't comment on that one, but it's amazing that a team that, is a high-scoring offense and they're struggling defensively. They didn't do much to replace what they lost in their bullpen. And Houston's another one. Houston is silently sitting there at 1-3. And they were supposed to have a better starting rotation. And they've only scored 9 runs in the 4 games.
What I love about baseball is that anything could change.
Yeah, you got 160-some games, so...
And a lot of these teams that are cold right now, I guarantee you 2 months from now, they're all in the top division.
But you know what's crazy about Tampa Bay? The only loss they have was pitched by their ace, Blake Snell.
Dude, I'm telling you, Tampa Bay is going to be a sleeper this year.
Yeah, I mean, they had 90 wins last year.
They got hot last year. This could be a really good division.
Yeah, well, I said we both said that the American League East and the National League East are going to be the 2 toughest divisions in baseball.
I'm still saying the Phillies are going to go far because we watched it happen with the Sixers. Sixers tickets were about $11 back in the day. Maybe was that 3 years ago, and now look at it. It's full of super players. Tickets are so expensive now, and that stadium's packed every game. That Philly stadium was packed both games. When Bryce Harper hit his first home run, that stadium went crazy. And it's awesome as a fan to see that. Like, I'm not a Phillies fan, but when you watch stuff like that happen, like a team that went from rebuilding to getting better, and now like they have it, that's awesome to watch. Same with the Brewers. The Brewers went crazy today on Christian Yelich's walk-off today. And it's cool to see these teams start winning again. I love how you constantly see that wave of teams that go down, they rebuild, they come back up. I mean, some teams stay in that rebuild mode for a while, like the Marlins. They've been there for a while. The White Sox have been there for a while. But, like, as a fan, you got to love what's going on in Philly right now.
Oh, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, it's good for baseball. But the Yankees are about to lose. They're down to their last out. I wonder if Baltimore's going to celebrate in their locker room again. It's it's going to come down to, like we talked about before, pitching. Pitching is the key to everything. And they said the Yankees were going to dominate with their bullpen, and so far it hasn't been the case. So we'll see what happens. I mean, San Diego's ERA is only 1.33.
Yeah,
that's great. The batting average against them is 206, and the Mets have the second lowest.
What I think has been really cool so far this beginning of the season is you had a lot of players who are new to a team who have started off with a loud bang. Robinson Cano's first at-bat home run. Paul Goldschmidt hit 3 home runs the other night. His first hit was a home run, and then he hit another one, and then he hit another one.
He's with St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in last place.
We were just talking about Texas, the Texas Rangers, and they beat the Cubs today 11-10, which is honestly a score you don't really see. And we talked about Hunter Pence on the offseason, how he got a minor league deal with them. And he went 2 for 3 today, which is awesome. He's batting .500. But 11-10, that's actually pretty crazy to think about.
That's the best place for him to come back, though, because the Texas Rangers, I mean, they're not looking to do anything special this year, especially with the guys they picked up. I think Minor's their best pitcher, and then a lot of these guys just I don't know. I just they're like in a total rebuild. Lance Lynn pitched today for them. He allowed 10 hits and seven runs. Oh, that's crazy.
Joey Gallo went 2 for 5. I'm still a big fan of Joey Gallo. I think he hit some of the longest home runs last year and is still a young, good prospect for them. It's just the Rangers need a lot of work on that team.
He's one, though, where his batting average is always low. I mean, if you hit like for league average,
it's almost when the Yankees had Steven Drew, and Steven Drew had over 20 home runs but was batting like 100. It's just one of those situations. They have a new stadium coming up soon. They're going to have a young team. Yeah, it's going to be a young team. They're going to rebuild.
Dude, how about yesterday? Yu Darvish pitched for the Cubs, and he walked 7 batters in 2 2/3 or something like that. And
it's a shame what's happening because he signed a huge deal, didn't he? And he is yet to actually perform.
Yeah, and you know what they say. I saw where they projected the Cubs to win 90-plus wins, win that division. And you have other people saying that their coach is on the hot seat.
I like Joe Madden.
They've been to a World Series a couple years ago. But Hamels pitched today. He allowed 6 hits, 5 runs. And I thought for sure that they were going to be the team that won that division.
Yeah, I mean, Yu Darvish is in a 6-year, $126 million contract. And he's a free agent in 2024. But he's been injured a lot.
He's got to go. That was a bad pickup. I'm so glad the Yankees didn't pick him up. It's just he's a ticking time bomb.
That $126 million is all guaranteed too. Isn't that great to be a baseball player and know that money, if you get cut, is guaranteed?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's tax and all that, but you could just break your finger and be like, yeah, I'm just going to sit out because I know all my money's guaranteed. That is why probably so many football players sit out, because they want those long-term deals.
No, we won't even get into football.
I know.
I'm so frustrated with what's going on in Dallas right now.
We'll get to that maybe a little bit later.
It's just frustrating. I just this whole franchise tag and crap's got to go, but I'm just, it makes it easier when the Yankees lose to look at the scoreboard and Boston lost, and it just makes it so much easier to swallow.
Did they officially lose?
Yeah, they lost 10-8. And that's tough, too. You put up 8 runs and you lose.
Yeah, listen, that team's young. Not young. What I meant to say is it's early. This team has a great lineup. I mean, 1 through 4, you have You have Stan. You have Judge. You have Voit. You have Torres. You have Didi coming back soon. You have Sanchez. Greg Bird, who I know struck out a lot of times the other day, but still hit a home run. This team has so much potential on paper. I think that they're going to get hot and they're going to ride it all the way out. All right, so the Yankees officially have just lost. What was it, 7-5?
Yeah, Tulowitzki came in and pitched it
for Gardner and struck out.
He didn't even swing. It was a check swing.
We actually met up with Rudy the other day, and we were talking about Tulowitzki. And what I basically said is what you're getting out of Tulowitzki is a hard worker. He's going to give it his all, but he is not going to perform like an elite player. And it's what you're seeing. He's 2 for 6 right now, batting .333, striking out. You could see he's at the end of his career, and I feel bad for the guy because one of the main reasons he really wanted to sign with a new team was because he has a son, and his son doesn't really remember him playing baseball because his son's so young, but his son's getting older now. So you feel bad for the guy, and I truly do like Tulowitzki because Tulowitzki in his prime was an elite Gold Glove winner, great batter, great overall player. It's just he's getting old now, and I feel bad for him, but I'm not going to lie, I can't wait till Didi comes back. And he's even said that. He said he knows that Didi is going to have this job and that the team is better with Didi. So you got to give him the respect for that he knows what his job is right now.
It just sucks because the Yankees left 14 guys on base. They had plenty of opportunities to win this game. And, Hap won 4. He brought Sessa in, and Sessa gave up 2 runs. But it's just like the bullpen is not doing its job right now. It's just we got to get it together. I mean, and it's just something that I don't know if it's the weather or what it is, but this is not the same team that broke camp down there in Florida, and they got to figure it out. They're making another error again today. That's 4 errors in 2 games. You got to figure it out because it's costing them games, and these are the games that you have to win. I mean, when you're facing a team like Baltimore, it's just you expect them to come in there and sweep Baltimore and take all 3.
And it's just like key situations. Like Paxton pitched a great game, but we didn't give him support. Like when you have men in scoring position, you have to hit them in. Your pitcher can only hold the lead for so long. You know what I mean?
Well, that went downhill when they started throwing the ball away. I mean, 3 errors. They score runs because of stupid errors, and they should never have lost that game. And they got to clean it up because now that they got Detroit, and then they go back and they play Baltimore again. So they got to figure it out because these are the games that got Detroit, who's projected to be last, and they got Baltimore, who's projected to be last. You got to win these games, and you got to get these now.
And you truly have to win these games because on paper, the Yankees are a World Series team. On paper for the Orioles, this is a toilet bowl team. They have literally one guy who returned, and that's Chris Davis, and he's not even playing well. They literally have a whole lineup of new players, 2 rookies. Like, this is a team you got to beat, and we didn't.
No, and like I said, if it comes back down to like getting into a wild card or something like that and you miss out, you're going to look at these games and kick yourself in the butt because these are the games that you have to win. And it's a good thing it's early, and it's a good thing Boston's losing. But if Boston gets hot, they can win easily 10 games.
And what if the Rays get hot?
Yeah.
Like I know it's early, I know it's cold, but like this is a game you have to beat the Orioles. Like I'm not trying to talk crap on a team, but the Orioles just are in total rebuild mode right now, and that's the team you got to beat. That pitcher, like you said today, was barely throwing 90.
Yeah,
and we had how many home runs we have last year? A lot. Like, we needed some hits. Bases loaded like 3 times. We've only scored runs the second time. Judge hit that that single that scored 2 runs.
When opportunity knocks, you got to take advantage of it, and we didn't do a good job of that today. We really didn't. So,
Aaron Boone, if you're listening to this, go yell at your guys, okay? They need to step it up.
Hap didn't look good today, though, but, it's early. He didn't have a good spring either, but there's no reason why we should have lost that Paxton game on Saturday. Paxton pitched great. The Big Maple came through, and he showed his stuff. It's just we made dumb mistakes, and it all started with a bad throw that went to the outfield, and then Voit threw another ball to the outfield, and you just make the mistakes, and then it just keeps going and going and going.
All right, so as we continue this talk of baseball, we brought Gibby in. Gibby, we had him on. He was our first guest. We're going to have him help talk about baseball. Just say hi, Gib.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right, Gibby, with opening day right here, what is your view on the Pirates so far? How do you think they're doing?
Well, they're 1-1 as of today, which is March 31st. Well, yeah, they got rained out the one day, but today Trevor Williams pitched a great game with 6 scoreless innings. And they won 5-0. So, the pitching's there. Jameson Taillon also had a great opening day, but unfortunately it was left in too long by the managers. But, the pitching's there. The hitting has to come, and I think it will.
No,
so,
Williams gave you from both sides of today, offensively and defensively. And he pitched a great game, and he had 2 RBIs today.
Yeah, he had a walk RBI, and he had a single, which scored a run. So, yeah, from both sides of the field, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's early in the season, Gibbon, and Tyler and I are just racking our brains about how bad the Yankees are playing and how bad Boston's playing and Houston are playing. And then we talked about San Diego, how they had the offensive weapons, but they're leading right now the MLB in ERA with like a 1.63 ERA as a team ERA.
And I think Gibby was the one we had on here when we said, we don't think the Padres are going to do that good, but they could possibly be okay.
Yeah, of course they're going to have the hitting with Kinsler and Hosmer and Machado, but if their pitching continues like how they're playing, they could be a real contender come October.
And Gib, as far as the Pirates, how do you feel about their hitting so far? I mean, you have Francisco Cervelli, who's leading your team with 286 batting average, and then Corey Dickerson has just the 1 home run, which I always liked Corey Dickerson, just throw that in there. But how do you feel about their hitting so far? I mean, you lost a lot of key players in the past 2 years, but how do you feel about it?
They're always going to struggle. Their bench isn't. They don't really have much depth. They have like Colin Moran at third base, but their hitting is just it's always going to be kind of around like the 250 zone with most averages in that lineup. And their power is really. They're not a powerful hitting team. Other than really Dickerson, they're not. As long as if Josh Bell can if he can get his power that he had his rookie season, he might hit like around 20 home runs. But that's where that's impactful in their lineup with the power. They're not a powerful team, and that's really where their insufficient of runs comes from, I think.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Josh Bell. But Gibbs, since you're a Pirates fan, you're kind of like us. You don't really care for the Phillies. But as you watch the past 2 games, you've seen the sold-out crowds 2 games in a row. Bryce Harper hits his first home run. Hoskins to grand slam. We said how it's cool as a fan, to see all this unfolding. But what are your viewpoints so far on the Phillies, and do you think that this will continue throughout the season?
From watching those 2 games, it's scary. Their stadium is loud, and it's tough to play there as an opposing pitcher, with the screaming. Like, for example, in PNC Park with that wild card game when Johnny Cueto dropped the ball, and then they gave up that home run. The crowd has a big impact on the team, and with the energy that they're supplying and the runs that they're scoring, they could be very dangerous this season.
I like how you said it. It's scary because that's true. They have been sold out the past 2 games, and that crowd has been, crazy loud. And that does. I remember that wild card game with Cueto. Those Cueto chants, I love that. And then he drops the ball, the crowd goes crazy. Russell Martin then hits a home run. That was a great game.
Yeah. And even with the pitching, they're pitching great too. It's really scary how good the team is, and the lineup is just incredible.
The thing I'm concerned about with the Phillies is, like we talked about earlier, is the run differential. They're allowing a lot of runs, and if you look at their bullpen, the Pivetta, his ERA is over 7. Robinson's ERA is almost 14. Neris's ERA is over 18. So that I still think that's their weakness in their team. It's going to be how many runs do they have to score to win games.
Yeah, but like we said, it's early, so you're going to see those high 14 ERAs because they only face like 2 or 3 batters.
But this is the same way it started last year. The Mets jumped out in front, and then before you knew it, the Phillies were climbing, but then the Phillies collapsed. And they really didn't do much to fix their bullpen.
So, Gibby, starting off this podcast, I said how it might be a little too early, but the Brewers, World Series favorites possible?
Yeah. They with how the way Yelich is playing, and I watched the Yelich home runs, and the way their crowd also has been impactful with like the excitement. It's just they're also a team that seems just like the Phillies. Like they're really energetic, and that goes far, and they're looking really good right now as well.
I love what's going on in Milwaukee. They got Moustakas back. They got Kane back. And I was saying, Gib, how Christian Yelich, it's crazy because he's not a big guy. He's a skinny guy hitting these home runs. He's got 4 already.
Yeah. Some people can find it, you know what I mean? Like he's finding it right now, and if he can continue to find it, he can maybe hit like 30 home runs, and that really boosts your lineup when you have a player like that can hit 30, 40 home runs.
All right, Dad, I don't know if you're ready, but we can move on to football here because we haven't had Gibby on in a long time. And for you guys that don't know, Gibby is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So there's a lot we could discuss here. Number one, Gib, is you lose Antonio Brown, you lose Le'Veon Bell, and you
lose your tight end.
There's a lot there, and there's a lot of rumors, Gabe, going around that like a lot of it falls on Ben Roethlisberger, that he's a big headache in the locker room, that once he leaves, they kind of have fun. But Gabe, as a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, I want to hear your view of how you think this team's going to go this year, how you think the offseason played out so far for you guys.
Well, to be honest, it was time for Antonio Brown to move on because it was just bringing negative attention to the team. But I mean, I feel like we didn't have Le'Veon Bell last year, so the running game still was productive with James Conner. So I feel like losing him now kind of is something off of our chest as well, that, we don't have to worry about him coming back, whatnot. What week will he come back this year? It's just James Conner now. He's taken over the team with Jalen Samuels in the back, like his backup. And I think now with him gone, Antonio Brown gone, other guys are going to have to step up. And I think like what a lot of people think, like, oh, who's other there than Juju, and there's guys there that will step up, and I think the offense should still produce the same amount of numbers, but with the defense, they picked up Steve Nelson from the Chiefs with free agency, and Mark Barron from the Rams, so they are filling in these holes that we did when we lost Shazier. Like Mark Barron can come in and fill that whole role. And I feel like, they're going to be about the same as last year. I think they'll win the AFC North, in my opinion. But, I mean, the Browns are definitely a scary team.
I was going to say that. I was going to say I think you got to work with the Browns this year.
If you were the GM of Pittsburgh, where would you want to go in the draft?
Honestly, I still would focus on defense, and definitely a wide receiver as well. I would focus on getting maybe another threat in there with like DK Metcalf or something like that, one of those top wide receivers I'd focus on. And also, like, with the linebackers, they could always use a replacement in there somewhere, someone else to fill a hole. I feel like those two positions, and definitely maybe an offensive lineman with Marcus Gilbert leaving. So they're going to have, like, B.J. Finney, I think. He played last year, but, we'll still need that key backup O-lineman because they are injury-prone.
Yeah, and like I said, I called it from the beginning, Gib. I said that the Browns, unfortunately, Gib, I'm sorry to say this, but I think that they're going to win that division. But I personally think that the Steelers will be fine because, like you said, you got Connor, who is going to be a great running back. You have Juju, who is going to be a great receiver. Okay, if you go in the draft and you get a receiver to go with Juju, you fix that solution there. Do I think that the Steelers should draft another quarterback? I don't know, because you drafted Rudolph last year, and he was a really good quarterback in college. And Ben's getting old, so it might be time to move on from him. But I think that they're going to be fine.
The football season is going to be really interesting with all the changes that have happened. It's going to be interesting of what goes on in the NFL. And you still have a lot of guys who haven't gotten signed yet. I mean, Dominic Sue's still sitting out there. DeMarcus Lawrence debacle is still going on. The market's definitely changing in football, and it's going to affect teams for years to come.
Gib, do you think Mike Tomlin's on the hot seat at all, or do you personally like how Mike Tomlin is just handling all of this?
I definitely think he's on the hot seat. You went 9-6-1 last year. Not a terrible record, but it's kind of in Pittsburgh's blood to make the playoffs, and it kind of hurt a lot of fans for sure. So I mean, if he continues with, the subpar coaching decisions that he had last year, he could definitely find his way out of Pittsburgh easily, I think.
So recent news in the past 2 days, 3 days, the Eagles got running back Jordan Howard, and I personally think that this is a win for the Eagles. But this is my view on it. Cohen is like an Alvin Kamara in my eyes. He's going to be that running back that you toss him the ball, pitch him the ball, throw him the ball. He's going to run. But Howard was that power back that you needed, that nice duo running back. I think the Eagles got a gem out of this one because they needed a running back.
And it was only for a 6th-round pick.
It was for nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing. That as a running back, as a player in the NFL, that would have got me heated, knowing that you've been playing your butt off and you got traded for a 6th-round pick.
Kind of reminds me of the Antonio Brown trade for the 3rd and 5th round pick.
Yeah, I was honestly shocked about that. I thought for sure they would at least get a 1st-round pick for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right.
That's huge for the Eagles, though, man. The Eagles need a running back. I don't think they're going to bring a Jay Ajayi back.
No, I don't think so either.
So they filled that hole. They got a receiver back in Deshaun Jackson. This team just keeps looking better and better. It's going to come down to them in Dallas, and we all know that. I mean, the Redskins spent most of their money on more defense when they need offensive help. The Giants, who knows how the Giants are going to play out? That team just keeps getting better and better. I'm sorry to say, but they're looking scary.
I mean, the Cowboys made a couple of moves recently, but the problem is still the same as we've been talking about for the last couple of podcasts. This whole DeMarcus Lawrence thing is just dragging on too long. He wanted $20 million. Dallas offered him 20 and a half. And then now he changed it again. So he wanted 22. So it's getting ridiculous. Now he wants 6 years, $139 million with 85 guaranteed. There's no way Dallas is going to pay him that.
No. On the bright side, though, at least you guys did get Randall Cobb, so you could fill in that slot because you got rid of Beasley.
Yeah, and we got Quinn. We got Quinn to pick up.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You guys got Quinn. That was a good
it's still
pickup.
The same problem, though. We don't know what's going to happen with Gregory, and who knows what the league's going to do as far as suspending him. It's just another year of another Cowboys really not doing any big splashes, and everything's 1-year deals. And then guess what? Next week, go back and we do it all over again.
Yeah, and then I saw Gib. Did you see that Jordy Nelson actually retired?
Yeah, I did see that after 10 years, right?
Yeah, and I was shocked. I thought for sure that he would, try and keep playing, but I guess after just
I thought Green Bay would have brought him back for a lesser deal.
For at least 1 year or something. But I think he's still young. I thought he was going to keep playing. I wanted the Saints to actually pick him up when he got cut. And then, the Raiders also cut A.J. McCarron. And I'm shocked that, the Dolphins or someone else won't go after because I truly thought A.J. McCarron deserved to get a starting job. And then he got injured at Oakland, so he didn't win that job. I mean, not at Oakland.
The Dolphins really don't have anybody right now.
No, not at all. They're going to go to the draft, absolutely.
There's going to be you watch. Day one of the draft is going to be crazy because I can see Arizona trading their pick away, and I can see the Jets trading that pick away, and apparently people have been reaching out to Arizona about their quarterback that they have already.
I know, and I'm intrigued.
New England Patriots is one of them. They've reached out to them and talked to how serious they are about trading him or that pick.
Well, let's be real with Gronkowski retiring. How likely is it that Tom Brady's thinking about retiring a lot quicker than what he was planning on doing? But if he goes down, they don't have anybody. So getting Rosen would be amazing to learn from Tom Brady. Gib, so if you could learn from Tom Brady, it'd be amazing. You know what I mean? So they can get him to learn. That'd be awesome.
Brian Hoyer's their backup.
Yeah. Gib, do you got anything to say about that?
About Tom Brady, backing up Tom Brady?
Yeah, just about Tom Brady and just, the draft coming up because we personally think that this draft is going to be one of the craziest drafts. There's going to be a lot of trades.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the Jets are definitely going to trade their pick away. A lot of teams are New England definitely I think they're definitely interested on Kyler Murray for sure. Which I mean, all they really need to do is get a quarterback and let Brady groom him a little bit, 2-3 years. And once Brady retires, he could maybe take over or whatnot. But I could also see him asking for Josh Rosen as well.
Well, they say the Giants are going to be moving up. They're trying to move up. Washington's another one. Washington really doesn't have a quarterback there. So they're interested in Rosen as well, but I don't know what they have to offer to make that happen.
Yeah, no. So far, this football off season, I think that the Browns and the Eagles are winning this one so far. I know, I know we hate talk about the Eagles, but you got to give it to the Eagles. They are building that team up. They truly are, and they look scary. And if I was Dallas, I'd be worried because you're losing a lot of defensive players. You're banking on your offense to stay together.
It just frustrates
and,
me.
And you got Zeke coming up who wants a big contract. You want Dak coming up who wants a big contract.
And you know what? They have all these guys that are going to be free agents next year. I mean, their whole secondary basically between 2019 and 2021 are going to be free agents. So it's just driving me nuts with this whole DeMarcus Lawrence thing and handcuffing us with the stupid tag thing. Oh my God, I'm so frustrated.
All right, so recent news in the NFL. If you guys follow our podcast, you do know that I am a New Orleans Saints fan. And, they should have been in the Super Bowl, but, with that pass interference call that wasn't called just about last week, they made it now where you can, review a penalty, a defense and offensive penalty in the last, 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people were coming out saying, Sean Payton's probably so happy right now. But as a fan, I'm not happy because we know we should have won that game, and then make it under rule ain't gonna give us joy. But one thing they were talking about is that they were talking about possibly giving the Saints the win, even though the Rams already went to the Super Bowl. And believe me, if they do that, you're gonna have a lot of angry fans in New Orleans because just because you give us that win, again, we're not gonna have joy. That's going to make it even worse.
Well, I know Richard Sherman's not happy about it. He hates the fact that now you can review pass interference plays because, he said they can make the outcome as they see fit.
And, Gabe, we'll get to your view in a second, but even as a Saints fan, I still don't want them to review certain things like that because obviously refs miss calls. But in a late game, just to throw a challenge flag to see if that call really does stand, I don't know. I think it just gets too technical. Gib, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, but also teams like the Saints, missing that call is huge. I feel like if you do have the ability to review that, does make it more equal. But I do also agree with kind of the old way of doing things with it. Just if it's a ref, the refs do make errors, and that takes that element out of the game. Which, it could go either way.
I just don't know why they don't put an extra referee up in a booth that could yell down through a headset to the referee on the field and say, look, pick that flag up. It was a bad call. Or, you should have called a flag there because there was a penalty. I mean, it's not that hard to fix this whole mess up.
No.
It's just now all these challenges, it makes it more difficult. Just throw an extra official up there.
And they can even wire that official up so that they can, as the fans, you can hear what they're talking about so you don't think that this game is fixed.
I mean, they do it now for, if there's an injury on the field, they buzz down and say, hey, stop the game, take that player out. Why can't they do it for penalties?
Yep. I just think it gets too far to the point sometimes where they're almost ruining the game with how much you can review. I don't know, as a Saints fan, obviously that call is huge. You make that call, they go to the Super Bowl. But I don't know if I want... The only thing that I think the NFL needs to change is the pass interference rule. I hate that it's the mark of the spot because you could throw a ball 80 yards and they throw a pass interference flag and now you're 80 yards down the field. I think it should be 15-yard penalty. I don't think they should review.
I think it's the spot of the foul. It's not the spot over the throw.
Yeah, but if it's a spot, most of the time that pass interference is when the ball is about to get there.
The thing is you got to stop taking the human element out of the game.
There's just so much they're trying to change. Yeah,
they want to bring in. You got to let these officials be officials, and
that's part of the game. They're gonna blow calls.
I think that the officials do blow calls and it happens, and they should just let that go. It's human error. It happens with everything.
Yeah. One interesting thing we could do right now, because we personally think that this podcast has been a little dry today, but you can't blame us. We were out at our nephew's party all day, but
on trampolines.
On trampolines. But this is Everything Goes. This is our podcast. Why don't we never actually talked about ourselves? How did you become a Dallas fan? Like that's so something that we could show right now. Like how did growing up, because if you guys don't know this, you lived in New Orleans, you lived in PA. How living in two different states, not even near Texas, how did you become a Dallas fan? Like, did you just hop on that bandwagon?
I always liked the Cowboys because I thought the cheerleaders were hot when I was younger.
Oh.
And I always told my grandfather I wanted a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader in my Easter basket. And then as I just started getting older, I just started watching the Cowboys, and I never changed. I always liked them, and I was the only one in my family that liked the Cowboys. But just that's how it was. That's how it all started.
Yeah, for me, a lot of people think that I hopped on the bandwagon. I didn't really start watching football until like 2010, 2011. I hated Sundays. I hated that the whole day was dedicated to fantasy football and watching football. But I started watching New Orleans because you lived in New Orleans, so like you occasionally would watch the Saints games, and I hated that you and Noah were such big Dallas fans.
Well, I got to go to a lot of games with Juan
Yeah.
and Sean and them.
So
down
like
there.
I kind of want to be like I wanted to be like the outcast. I was like, this is a team that looks cool. I'm going to watch them. It was right around the Jimmy Graham era. But everyone thought that since I started watching around 2010, 2011, that, he hopped on the bandwagon because they won the Super Bowl. But, like, those, like, next 3 years, the Saints sucked. They made the playoffs, like, 1 out of 5 years. And I rode that team. I rode that team through the bounty years. And I stuck with it. And I got to watch Drew Brees. That I love them. I love them. I will love watching them every Sunday. I don't know what it is. But when your team loses, you want to cry. When your team wins, you want to go out.
I've been through a lot of bad years with the Cowboys, too. The 115 year. I've been through the Buddy Ryan era where they hated each other. And it's been an up and down roller coaster ride. And right now, we're on that ride again. And it just
I'm the adopted one out of the family. But Gib, we know your dad's a huge Pittsburgh fan. That probably had a huge influence on you. But why Pittsburgh? Why not the Eagles?
I mean, kind of like you guys, my dad grew up watching the Steelers all the time, so the earliest memory of me watching that I can remember the Steelers was definitely like in 2006 when Big Ben just started playing, and he won the Super Bowl. So I was like, ooh, football! Like the Super Bowl is kind of cool. So my dad liked the Steelers, and just ever since then, I just always watched the Steelers every Sunday. So it's always been Steelers.
So you hopped on that bandwagon.
The thing that sucks for you guys is, like, football was so good when I was a kid.
Yeah. It was also dangerous, though, but that's the sport. It was the
sport, but it was such a better game. I mean, you're watching it now, it's like
it's just like
penalty after penalty after penalty, and it gets so boring. But
just put the flags on.
Back then, man, you never saw guys go across the middle because the linebacker and the safety were going to light you up and take your head off.
That's scary to think about.
What?
It's so scary to think about. I love that we could be real like that on this podcast. Everything goes. I like that we can connect with people and just show them like exactly how we gotten this far. I love being the outcast as family because like when Dallas plays the Saints, I love that because it's 2 against 1, but it's gonna be loud in that dome this year. I can't wait. I don't
know what. I mean, offensively, Dallas is set, especially with the whole line coming back. I mean, as long as Zeke don't hold out. But defensively, I don't know. I mean, I think that's going to be our biggest problem. I think there's going to come a time where DeMarcus Lawrence is going to screw himself, and he's not going to get that surgery. And if Dallas decides to pull that franchise tag, he's not going to be able to play for any team that he goes to because he needs that surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 3, 4, 5 month rehab.
Yeah. There's just a lot going on. Baseball's finally just starting up, so we're going to have a lot to talk about with baseball.
Even hockey. I mean, Gib, what do you think about Pittsburgh? I mean, to me, it looks like Tampa Bay just is blowing everyone away. Tampa Bay is a team to beat, but what do you think? What's the chances of the Penguins?
It's kind of like baseball. You got to be playing right at the right time. The Penguins are playing good this month. I think they have 10 wins. I think they're 10-3-1 this month. So they're playing good. Like you said, Tampa Bay is very good. I think they have like almost 120 points or something like that, which is insane.
Yeah, they're 59 wins, 15 losses. They're at 122 points right now.
Yeah, that is a lot of points. As long as the Penguins can have playoff Sidney Crosby activated, and the Penguins do have a lot of injuries with Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang right now. So if everybody's healthy and they're playing good at the right time, Matt Murray's, in his focus. He can blow games at the end, which has been his problem this year. But as long as they're playing well, healthy, they have a good chance of going pretty deep in the playoffs, I think.
And the Flyers just officially got eliminated from the playoffs.
But you watch the Flyers next year because the GM said, "Watch, we're spending money,"
and they need to.
I think they're going to load up. To.
The Flyers have had the same players, which I love. I love I love Voracek. I love Drew. They traded Simmons, and it's time to trade some of these players. We need some young speed in there. You finally have that young goalie. Now you need to get some young defenders and some young speed in there because we're not winning. They were winning towards the end, but it wasn't good enough.
But you got to remember, when Hextall took over as the GM, they were in such bad cap position. They had no money. They couldn't do anything. He actually started turning it around, which I'm surprised that they actually fired him for. But that coach that they have, man, they got them fired up. They went on that win streak for a while, and it came up too little bit too short. So we'll see what happens. But I tell you, it's going to be interesting with hockey. Tampa Bay, I don't know. I mean, they said that the Islanders have the best defense in hockey, but I don't see that.
Yeah. Baseball's back. Football's off season continuing. They got the draft coming up soon. We thank Gibby for helping us end this podcast in the second half. Yeah, no problem at all. We love having our guests on the show. We thank you guys for listening to this podcast. We enjoy doing it. It will be up on YouTube. It's Everything Goes with a Z at the end.
Like and subscribe.
Don't forget to share with your friends, guys. We have a Facebook page for Everything Goes. We also
don't judge us on this one. This one was a hard one because we've been jumping on trampolines all day, and at 45 years old, I'm a little sore.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, you're getting old.
You can't stop time.
All right, guys, we'll see you in the next podcast. This one will be up on YouTube and our Facebook page. We also have our Twitter at Goes Everything with a Z. But let us know what you think, guys, and we'll
Gibby.
see you. Yeah, thanks, Gibby.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks.
All right, we'll see you guys. Have a good one.